So it's a pretty big and complex case here. Joining us now to break it all down is John Day. He is a criminal defense attorney. And John, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
I really have to start with this. I mean, as a criminal defense attorney, when you hear an investigation of this magnitude, not just high profile figures, but dozens of others, what do you think?
Well, as a criminal defense attorney, you're thinking this is going to keep you busy for a long time based on the work that the federal prosecutors have put together. But this is a spectacular development, and it's a horrifying development if you're a fan of the NBA. And look, this brings together the announcement we heard yesterday, brings together claims about connections between gambling in the NBA and the five prominent crime families of New York. I mean, that is an incredibly unique situation. I'm actually waiting to see what the connection is actually going to be between the sports betting side of it and then the crime family illegal poker side of it, because there are these two apparently tenuously connected investigations. But as far as the NBA goes, it really shakes your confidence in this major sport that's just beginning its season. And you have to wonder, is this just the tip of a very large and very disturbing iceberg at the NBA?
Apart from wondering if this is just the tip of the iceberg with this particular investigation, John, how many other times have we seen something similar to this where we're talking about, several crime organizations that have kind of infiltrated through these sports mechanisms to compile all of these schemes?
Right. Well, actually, the starting place is we shouldn't really be that surprised at this point, because the way that sports betting has been going with the advent of, online instantaneous betting on your phone. I think 35 states now allow sports betting. And the development of the betting process has changed so much. Now it's things like what they call prop betting, where you're not betting necessarily on the outcome of a game, but you're betting on specific instances in that game. Like, what is a player going to do? Or what's going to happen on the next free throw? Is that player going to remain in the game the whole time? And that led to, apparently, according to law enforcement, that led to the gambling situation where players who were involved and coaches who were involved were actually making decisions based on how it was going to affect the outcome for the gamblers. And if that's what's going on in a major sport like the NBA, you got to wonder how much confidence can you have in the integrity of it. And when you bring in the idea that there are organized crime families directly participating or even indirectly having a connection, I mean, this is not over yet. And it's actually kind of interesting that it came up now. And I'm wondering, was there some development that law enforcement was concerned about, or was there a reason they came forward right now? And I think there's a lot we still don't know.
I want to go back to a point that you mentioned in some of that answer that you had to the first question, which is, as a criminal defense attorney, you look at this and you're like, well, I'm going to be busy for a really long time. Given the scope of this and how large it is, I want to focus really on the head coach for the Trailblazers and Miami guard, Terry Rozier. In the mind of a criminal defense attorney here, when you see these charges that have been brought up against both of these high profile figures, what is the strategy going into this to help them try to beat the case?
Well, we've seen a little bit. We've gotten a little taste from the lawyers for Rozier and Billups. They're separately stating publicly that these are fake allegations. It's false allegations, that there's nothing there, that even though there's smoke, there's no fire, and that they intend to defend vigorously. And we have to wait and see what these defense teams put together to try to rebut what the federal prosecutors have already gone public with. But it's going to be interesting to see how they build their defense, and what this is all going to depend on what the federal prosecution case looks like, what the framework is. Who are these witnesses? Are there confidential informants? Are there people who flipped? In other words, are there people who were potential targets who talked to law enforcement and said, I can give you information if I get a good deal? That's pretty common. So I'm fascinated to see how that unfolds. And if we do find that there are other people who participated or took some kind of a deal or agreed to cooperate with the government, that's often how these investigations unfold.
And then, John, we heard a little bit from the press conference featuring FBI Director Kash Patel, kind of how they were able to figure out that this was even going on. This took a long time, many years, just to catch everybody that was involved. What was most surprising to you, maybe when it comes to the strategy of them trying to gather up this evidence to even bring forth these charges?
Yeah, and it's a good point, and that makes me wonder what was the incentive now to make this public. In other words, if they were making progress, if they were having success in the investigation, what was the triggering factor that they said, okay, now we've got to make this public announcement. Now we've got to go public with what we've been doing for the last year. There may have been part of a strategy, or there may have been some unforeseen factor that triggered the FBI and the U.S. Attorney and the NYPD to say we better go public with this so we can get the best possible advantage. But the idea that a lot of these cases, for example, are going to be developed by the use of informants, by people who maybe are being turned by the government to work for the government and provide information. We don't know that yet, but that's a relatively common situation. And so I do think that it's not over. I do think that it's very likely that we're going to see other people named, obviously. I mean, this is sort of the start of this, but it does raise questions about why now and what the timing is.
And then, John, I just wanted to let you know and our viewers know that we have a poll question to pose to them today. Do you think athletes should be able to gamble? You can submit your answer by scanning the QR code or heading to livenowfox.com/connect. I'm going to leave this up briefly just because we want to get the input from everyone watching. I mean, a lot of people shocked by this news. And as you have been mentioning, a lot of questions now surrounding the sports betting world and really what's going to happen going forward given this case. John, before I let you go, though, there are still a lot of unknowns with this. I mean, it was just announced yesterday, so there's a lot really that we still need to learn. How long is it going to take, perhaps, for this to even go to trial? And maybe even more importantly, what should people keep an eye out from here until then?
Well, I think the time, as far as timing goes, we're not sure. Federal court proceedings move at a pretty quick pace usually, and what to look for. I think, first of all, the sort of the big question as far as the NBA goes is how is this going to affect the season? I mean, are people still, do they have confidence in the integrity of the rest of the teams and the players and the coaches? But when you have a head coach of a team like Billups in this case being arrested and charged, this is not just a young rookie player or someone who doesn't have a lot of experience. This is someone who's got a lot of experience in the NBA, a lot of experience in the professional sports world. So if this investigation drags someone like that into it, you have to wonder, what is the ripple effect going to be on the NBA and on professional sports in general, but in particular, the brand new season at the NBA? What's that going to look like? And in the final analysis, we don't even know yet.
All right, and we can see that some of our viewers are already voting on this question. I'm going to bring it back up on the screen in just a moment. But John Day, criminal defense attorney, I just want to say thank you for your time. Still a lot of questions left to be answered. We'll look forward to checking in with you as we see how this progresses.
Thank you.